Hello everyone, my name is David. Welcome to my weekly question and answer video. Well, 2020 is now behind us, and I hope that a lot of our troubles stay there. But unfortunately, some will follow us, won't they? But I think all in all, this should be a much better year for most of us around the world, right? I'm glad we made it through the holidays. Hopefully unscathed. Hopefully it wasn't bad. Hopefully it was just okay at least. And that should ensure our brain not being so scared of the next holidays. Maybe we can start looking forward to the next holidays and celebrating it this time, maybe enjoying it throughout the year. Okay, welcome new subscribers and new viewers. Hello, thank you for joining us today. This is a weekly question and answer video that I'm answering your guys' questions from last week. And I encourage all of you guys to please ask questions. We need to heal from our past traumas, and the best way is to understand them. So please ask questions as much as you can. Find out the truth, okay? So you can start healing as well. So please ask questions. I want to thank you. RC donated to the channel this week. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your donation. It is the kindest gesture of all from somebody I don't know to give me their hard-earned money. So thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate you and everybody who donates and supports this channel. Thank you very much. So let's get started. Actually, I have a recommendation. I recommend something every single week. This week is another book. And it's recommended by a supporter and contributor to the channel, Emily from Latvia. Hi, Emily. Thank you for your recommendation. I am going to use it this week. Emily suggests a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I will put the link down below to Amazon, of course, to purchase this book if you guys are interested. Emily says she is post-trauma recovery specialist and uses storytelling as a therapy during healing process. And I really like that. That's really neat. In the book, she tells us about the wild woman, the wise and ageless presence in the female psyche that gives women their creativity, energy, and power. This book had a profound impact on me. I returned to it over and over. Clarissa describes when a woman's relationship with her wildest nature, her psyche, is damaged. This can show in her life as lacking energy, inspiration, or creativity, having poor boundaries, being unable to set limits, giving one's creative life over to others are signs that the psyche is wounded. Thank you very much, David, for all your videos. These are very helpful. Thank you, Emily. It sounds like a really good book, and I love other people's suggestions, and I often use them. So thank you. Anybody that reads it, let me know how it was, what you think of it. And like I said, again, the link will be down below to the book on Amazon, which is going for Kindle $7.19 and mass market paperback $7.19. Not a bad deal for a good book, Emily says. So thank you. So let's get started with the questions. First one is from Naya. And all of you, please let us know your locations. I just really like to know that, and I know a lot of you guys do too, and I just think it pulls us together a little bit. Kind of makes victims of this stuff not feel so alone and so isolated. It's nice to know that other people are suffering with you. Right? You're not the only one. I remember going through this, and I was convinced I'm the only one going through this. I didn't know what it was, and it makes it worse. So I appreciate you guys' locations. Thank you. And Naya is from Sweden. Hello. David, you always bright up my hope for the future when you say that we can heal again. I've completely ruined my entire 20s by dedicating myself to a narcissist who was faking his love for me during our entire relationship. After watching your videos, I realize now that he was just a narcissist who was exploiting me. Good, and thank you for telling me, Naya. And, you know, I don't want to, I just think that ruining your 20s, I mean, if they're over, they're behind us now. They're behind you. And you didn't ruin them. The more you learn from this, you won't feel that way, I think. And most people do. I hope that you do eventually, and realize that all that matters is from here on, right? And we can learn what we didn't know that got us in that trouble. And man, this is just such a powerful, huge experience to have. It really is, guys. I know that a lot of you feel like ashamed that you went through this experience. But it teaches you so much. You know so much more than most people about this subject matter, and it can continue. It doesn't have to just be about narcissists. It can be about trauma, and it can be about family dynamics, and most importantly, how to have healthy relationships in the future, which is difficult for people. It's not easy for anyone. So really use this as a great way to learn so much about yourself and your life. Okay? My entire upbringing consisted of dysfunctional parents who hated each other and used to fight all the time. I guess I don't have any healthy standards for relationships. David, can you define a good, healthy, and functional relationship? What qualities do we need to look for in a healthy partner relationship? Yeah, sure. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And there's so much information out there. But just to cover the bases, a healthy, growing, loving, functional relationship. It really takes a lot, okay? And I think both people entering a relationship need to have their past healed, right? The reason we got into these relationships is we needed to heal our past. We just didn't know this, okay? And so healing our past really is criteria for healing from all of this stuff. So we don't repeat it, most importantly, and so that we have healthy, loving, growing relationships now. So hopefully both people's pasts are healed. I'm not saying we need to be perfect at all. No. I'm just saying that we need to not go into these relationships with so much shame and guilt and unhealed trauma. And we need to know what a healthy, loving, growing relationship consists of and keep working at it. So it also includes both people having a stable sense of their self and being emotionally mature and stable as well. Knowing who you are means that you know what you want, that you know what you need, and what you value is principle in your daily life, and you are very in touch with your feelings and process them. These kinds of things are signs of emotional maturity, which is the best way to enter a relationship and it be functional, healthy, and growing and loving. I came up with a little something to help you guys out, I hope. And 3 little things that I think are criteria for a healthy, loving, growing, functional relationship, amongst many more things, but 3 basics, okay? And that's the people that we enter relationships with, they must value the same morals you do. And that might seem funny or silly to say, but look at some of the relationships you've had with some people. They do not, do they? And if you can just go by that alone, so important. And we don't know that. It takes a long time to get to know somebody. Some of you guys are still learning who your ex is after maybe years, maybe decades, okay? And in this relationship, we need our emotional needs met. And we do it by communicating very well and being vulnerable, okay? That's just some of the steps that I came up with. The relationship should be secure. And that means that both of you feel secure in that relationship and both of you have each other's back all the time, especially during hard times. And that you don't share what you guys share with other people. You don't talk bad about each other and don't divulge personal information that just the 2 of you share intimately. And this means that both of you keep your own autonomous self and autonomous lives and don't enmesh everything, okay? And that you are very emotionally attentive with each other. And very importantly, that there is an emotional connection. And if you guys are in relationships with emotionally unavailable people like narcissists, then you may not be very clear on what that is. It is hugely important. And that's one way to decide what kind of people you may want to be or have in your lives. Because there's just people that value emotional connection and do it. And there are people that do not value emotional connection because they've never done it. And they never will at a certain point in their adult life. It's important that there is privacy kept, right? It's important that both of you keep your own friends, that you have intimate time alone with each other, that you guys are both involved in something bigger than your relationship, something outside of that relationship, part of your community, social groups, and that you understand and you know what the meaning and purpose of your relationship is, and that there are life achievements, both of you becoming healthier and stronger and better people, okay? That's just some of the things that I can tell you. Okay, like I said, I could go on and on and on, and I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar business on dating and relationships and stuff like this. And the most common thing I have witnessed and experienced with couples, married couples, and the problems that they face, just the normal problems, is the vulnerability factor in the communication. I notice when couples come to me and want help together, and I see them together, almost always, besides there's an abuser and stuff like this, most commonly it's two people that really love each other, and something made them stop communicating, some kind of fear of being vulnerable, and they kind of back up and clam up and not tell the other person, and they come to me and I get them to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, and it's I call it like a standoff. It's kind of a couple saying, you go first, I'm not going to go first. I'm not going to be vulnerable anymore. And it might be their past fears or something, but once I can get them to start openly communicating again and being vulnerable, it's okay till maybe a few months or years. But that's the typical problem I see in relationships. Lots of work. Any of you guys having traumatic relationships, unhealthy, dependent relationships, abusive, neglectful relationships, if you're having these, you may not even know what a relationship takes, and that's scary alone, to be entering them and not knowing. It's like jumping headfirst into a mud puddle, and you don't know how deep it is. So a lot of work. Both people need to be totally committed, and I think a very, very, very good word is equality. That the both of you are equal, and there's reciprocation where both of you are trying equally, not one doing all the work. That tends to be women. Women are a little bit more emotionally mature than men, and they tend to want the connection a little more maybe, and they may end up trying and working harder because, the guy just wants to, whatever. I'm not trying to hate on guys, but we make up a lot of excuses for our partners that don't try hard enough, right? And equality, meaning that both of your guys' opinions and wants and needs and feelings are equal. There's not one more important than the other, right? So I hope that helps. Thanks for asking, Naya. And please keep asking. Keep asking questions. And you guys, I never say it enough. I don't care what your questions are. They can be random and personal. I don't mind. I'll tell you if it's too personal. And I don't mind repetitive, because it's not always the same people. And even the same people need to be reminded, okay? So there is no bad question, stupid question, none. Only bad answers, okay? So I'll try to give you good answers to your great questions, okay? Please, just ask. And if you don't understand me, keep asking. Or if I missed your question, keep asking. Thanks. Kate from Victoria, Australia. Hello, Kate. I walked away from my ex-narc. He wasn't traumatized as a child. His sister tells me he was the golden child of a narcissist father. So he didn't suffer abuse, but was the opposite. He was treated differently and got everything his own way. Product is he is a full-blown narc. If I said no, I got silent treatment, or what he perceived to be no. Question, can this also be considered abuse, even though he was just a spoiled brat that turned him into an over narcissistic? What you're describing isn't necessarily abuse. Abuse is intentionally hurting someone. But we don't know that he wasn't abused. I want to be clear on that, Kate, because a narcissist doesn't know who they are, okay? And they reject their whole true self. And that's typically the experiences they had as a child. And this lost self is lost, like everything else, causes depression, and they won't revisit it or touch it because it hurts too much. So it's extremely common for narcissists to say they had a perfect childhood, when in fact they did not. Narcissistic father typically means some type of emotional abuse. Emotional, not physical, not sexual, emotional, which is very hard to identify. It can be. And like I said, he may reject his past, not want to talk about it. I think you even said his sister tells me he was the golden child of a narcissistic father. And she may not understand what emotional abuse is either, may not witnessed it, but let's just go with this. Let's go with what you said. And he was just a spoiled brat that turned him into a covert narcissist. And what it is massive emotional neglect. And the father, narcissist father, doesn't allow the child to form his own autonomous self at all. Instead, it's like an extension of him. And, everything I couldn't be and I want to be and everything I want people to think of me, I push my child to make that happen. The overachiever, the golden child. He's perfect. He's me. He's a part of me. I'm the father of a very successful son. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, keep asking me. I've made lots of videos about this, even recently in the last month or two. So please check them out, Kate. Thank you for your question. I mean, and obviously a lot of spoiled behavior, right? He doesn't get his way and he punishes you. Silent treatment can be forms of abuse. Okay, so he's abusing you, and typically he might have got that from his dad. Okay? Thanks, Kate. Simon from the United Kingdom. Hi, Simon. Just dropped by to say thank you so much for all you do. You've been a grounding source of sanity for me over the past year of no contact, having been previously gaslit to hell and back by my ex BPD. Every one of my relationships have been toxic for reasons I now fully understand, including how people on the autism spectrum, like myself, can often find themselves in such situations. However, I've made great progress with the help of some counseling, self-help, CBT, meditation, and a good dose of determination and courage. I just want to say, in these difficult times, for people who may be isolating or just out of a difficult relationship, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you are not alone. Thank you, Simon. That is beautiful. And I just love words of encouragement and inspiration to others who are going through this and feel so helpless and so hopeless. It's awesome. And I read this too because you said that you're on the autistic spectrum, and I've seen that to be very common. Very, very common. It's very, very sad. So I'm glad that you're getting help for that, and I sure hope you can have healthy, enjoyable, comfortable relationships in your future. Thank you very much, Simon. And next one is from Willa, New Jersey. Hi, Willa. Willa is awesome. Willa's a contributor and a supporter of this channel for a long time. She has, she actually makes some videos. They're really cute about unboxing some neat stuff that she gets and her little dogs. If you want to go check it out, Willa just being Willa. Always in the comment section, you'll see her down there. Why is it so difficult to realize we may be in a one-way relationship? It's not love returned. It is just interactions. Do you think, oh, and this is a two-part, and you go into something else. So first, Willa, I want to tell you, we're the type of relationships we're in adulthood typically resemble the kind of relationships we had in our childhood. And so abusive adulthood relationships, abusive childhood typically, okay? Neglectful, one-way relationships, which is neglectful, where we don't, and childhood, one-way relationships is narcissistic parenting. It's the parents really wanting the child to be there for them in different ways and forms. And the child, us, right, not being able to form our own autonomous self and know exactly what we want, what we need, and things like this. And so, anyways, we have maybe emotionally unavailable parents that don't love us unconditionally, love us conditionally, and we search these relationships later in life. Also, what we don't get as a child, whatever children typically don't get growing up, they'll usually go stray and try to find it somewhere else. So whatever we're not getting in our childhood, we go try and find that somewhere else. And it's too bad because we need unconditional love as a child. And so we have that, and then we grow from it and don't keep expecting this unconditional love. And that's kind of what we start looking for, the love we didn't receive from our parents, the emotional neglect. I hope that makes sense. even just having to be there for our parents in any way, and always doing what they want and performing how they want us to, and all this stuff. It's just it's too much responsibility for a child. It's too much, and we go searching for relationships where other people need us, other dependent relationships, because our parents were dependent on us. I hope that makes sense. So, second part, do you think Joel Guy's parents ever imagined their son would do this to them? Did they suspect they raised a monster? How much was genetic? How much was environment? He was their only son and his mother's only child. He held his head high and never showed remorse. You got me to go look, Willa, at the Joel Michael Guy's Jr.'s murder story. And it is, I've watched a lot. I've studied psychopaths for a long time. And even though a small percentage of psychopaths are committing the murder, that's kind of what you really see. You don't really get to see day-to-day, psychopaths that are high functioning or on a higher spectrum. You get to see these kind of lower functioning psychopaths in committing murders and getting caught and stuff. So I watched this story, and for you guys that don't know, I don't want to, go way into it. Joel Guy Jr., 28-year-old, who murdered his parents. He's got four, I believe it was four, half-sisters. So the girls were the fathers, and then the father got remarried and had Joel with his new wife, and I believe that's her only child was. He murdered them. The crime scene was just horrific. It was just one of the worst I've ever seen on TV, one of the worst stories. Absolutely disgusting. From massive knife marks, stabbings, massive on each one. And usually that means it's very emotional and lots of hatred, personal. I don't think so necessarily in this case. There's not a lot out there, and certainly not anything about his childhood that I could find and stuff like this, or anything too much that's personal about the whole family. But I did see them on trial. I listened to the daughters talk about the parents. The parents seemed decent parents, and the girls seemed decent, big time, and emotional. They're all very emotional, which were good signs. Now, I just want to give my opinion. I'm not a doctor, a therapist, and I'm not diagnosing anybody. I'm just talking about this with you guys, and I don't know a lot. So just going by the little bits that we know, my opinion is Joel is most likely a psychopath, and I'm guessing it's genetic, and possibly on the mother's side. I would